Love has always been one of the deepest and most complicated human pursuits. We long for it, dream about it, build stories around it. In the modern world, it seems as if we have more opportunities for love than ever. Endless dating apps, carefully curated profiles, glossy images of happy couples, even entire industries devoted to helping us find the one. And yet, never before have so many people felt frustrated, uncertain, or disillusioned about relationships. Everywhere, we are told that love should be effortless, electric, and eternal. Movies end with a couple riding into the sunset. Music lyrics glorify burning passion, and social media feeds us filtered snapshots of perfect-looking relationships. But real life is messier. People grow and change, expectations clash, attraction shifts, and the very intensity that once drew two people together can become the weight that pulls them apart. So why is it so hard to navigate love today? The Stoic thinkers who lived nearly 2,000 years ago might answer, because we look for love in illusions rather than in truth. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and philosopher, wrote often about the fleeting nature of beauty, the dangers of unchecked desire, and the importance of harmony with nature. Epictetus, once a slave, insisted that true freedom comes from within, from understanding what is in our control and what is not. Seneca, the sharp-tongued statesman, warned about the traps of unhealthy attachment and the illusions we weave for ourselves in relationships. What makes their wisdom extraordinary is how relevant it remains. They lived in a world without Tinder, Instagram, or situationships. Yet their insights apply directly to the challenges we face in love today. They remind us that the biggest obstacles in relationships are rarely the other person. More often, they are the illusions we carry into them. Unrealistic expectations, clinging attachments, misplaced priorities, or the belief that someone else must complete us. This video is not about quick dating tricks, cynical advice, or catchy slogans. It is about 7 profound but often unspoken truths of modern relationships. Truths that the Stoics understood centuries ago, but which we desperately need to remember now. They are not easy truths. In fact, many of them go directly against what popular culture tells us. But they are liberating truths. They give us a way to step out of the drama, to see more clearly, and to love in a way that is both freer and deeper. If you have ever felt that modern love is confusing, if you have been disappointed by the gap between your expectations and reality, or if you simply want to understand how to approach relationships with greater wisdom and calm, this exploration is for you. What follows are 7 insights. Each one begins with a simple observation, but when viewed through Stoic philosophy, reveals something profound about the way we relate to others and ourselves. They are not rules or rigid commandments. They are perspectives, ways of seeing. And when we learn to see clearly, we give ourselves the gift of peace. Love ceases to be a battlefield of expectations, demands, and fears, and becomes instead a shared journey between 2 free and imperfect souls. Let us begin. Love does not equal possession. In our everyday speech, we constantly say things like, my partner, my wife, my boyfriend. The language is so common we rarely pause to question it. But within those small words lies a dangerous illusion, the idea that another human being can belong to us. The Stoics would immediately caution against this. Epictetus, who taught relentlessly about freedom, reminded his students that nothing external ever truly belongs to us. Not wealth, not reputation, not even those closest to our heart. Everything is on loan from the universe and may be taken back at any moment. This may sound harsh, but paradoxically it is the foundation of a love that is pure and resilient. Because when we stop trying to possess, we begin to appreciate. When we release the illusion of ownership, we no longer love out of fear. Fear of loss, fear of betrayal, fear of abandonment. Instead, we love from a place of gratitude. In modern relationships, possession often disguises itself as passion. We see it in jealousy that insists, "If you love me, you must not even look at anyone else." We see it in control, where one partner dictates what the other can wear, who they can speak to, how they must behave. On social media, it even shows up as constant demands for proof. Post me, show me off, prove to the world that you are mine. But this is not love. It is insecurity wearing the mask of love. And the Stoics would remind us that insecurity is always rooted in confusion. We confuse what belongs to us, our own thoughts, choices, and actions, with what does not, the inner life of another person. Epictetus gives us an image. If you kiss your child or your friend, say to yourself, "Tomorrow they may die," not to make us cold, but to remind us that the people we love are not possessions guaranteed forever. They are gifts lent to us by nature, and every moment with them is precious precisely because it is not owned. When we bring this attitude into modern relationships, something shifts. Instead of clinging, we begin to honor. Instead of suffocating our partner with demands, we give them the freedom to choose us willingly each day. And when love is chosen freely, it deepens. Think of the difference between holding a bird gently in your hand versus gripping it tightly. The tighter you squeeze, the more it struggles, and eventually it may die. But held with openness, it can rest calmly, even return to you again and again of its own will. Love does not equal possession. In fact, the moment we try to own another person, love begins to die. The Stoic approach is to release ownership, to recognize that a partner is not an object, but a soul, free, independent, sovereign. And only when we honor that freedom can we truly love them, not as property, but as a fellow traveler on life's uncertain road. Attraction fades, character endures. We live in a culture that glorifies appearances. Entire industries are built around beauty, fashion, fitness, cosmetics, filters, angles, and lighting. Dating apps reduce potential partners to a set of photos and a few witty lines of text. Attraction in this modern landscape is treated as the golden ticket of relationships. But the Stoics, living centuries before glossy magazines or Instagram, already knew the truth. Beauty is fragile, fleeting, and ultimately irrelevant to what makes life good. Marcus Aurelius constantly reminded himself that even the most dazzling body is nothing more than bones, blood, and dust in motion. Epictetus urged his students not to be seduced by appearances which fade with time, but to look for virtue, which endures. This perspective is brutally honest. Attraction matters. Yes, it sparks interest, creates chemistry, gives the first push toward connection. But if it is the foundation of a relationship, the house will crumble, because attraction inevitably shifts. Bodies change with age, illness, stress, or simple passage of time. If love is tied only to appearances, it will erode as surely as beauty itself. The Stoic alternative is both humbler and stronger. Base your love on character. Ask not, are they beautiful, but are they just? Are they kind? Do they possess courage, self-control, wisdom? Because these qualities not only endure but deepen. A partner's patience in times of stress, their honesty when telling difficult truths, their willingness to put principle above impulse. These are qualities that grow more radiant with years. In modern life, this truth is difficult to embrace because it sounds unromantic. To say attraction fades feels like killing the dream. But the Stoics would argue that it is only when we strip away illusions that real love becomes possible. If you marry beauty, you are destined for disillusionment. If you marry virtue, you marry something timeless. Think about the couples who have been together for decades and still radiate warmth. Chances are what keeps them bound is not the surface, but the substance. They may laugh together, share values, support one another in hardships. This is not the firework spark of first attraction. It is the steady flame of shared character. So the Stoic truth is simple but vital. Attraction can open the door, but character keeps it open. Choose someone whose virtue inspires you, whose way of living strengthens your own. Then, even as beauty changes, the love itself will remain not just intact, but stronger. Expectations poison relationships. Few things corrode relationships as silently and thoroughly as unspoken expectations. We carry invisible lists of how a partner should behave. They should remember anniversaries, guess our feelings, meet unspoken needs, respond the way we imagine. When they do not, we feel betrayed. But what betrayed us was not reality. It was the illusion we built. Marcus Aurelius observed, "Choose not to be harmed, and you won't feel harmed. Don't feel harmed, and you haven't been." What harms us is not what people do, but the story we attach to it. Expectations are one of those stories. We imagine a partner should say the perfect words at the perfect time, and when they don't, we call them inattentive or cold. We expect them to share our taste, our schedule, our priorities, and when they diverge, we declare them incompatible. But the truth is, no one was born to fulfill another person's script. The Stoic response is to replace expectation with clear communication and gratitude. Epictetus advised, if you want your child to bring you a cup of water, don't expect it silently. Ask. If you don't, and they fail, whose fault is that? In relationships, the same principle applies. Instead of silently keeping score, we should speak clearly, request kindly, and then accept reality calmly. Modern couples often suffer because they confuse mind reading with love. We think, if they really cared, they would just know. But the Stoics would laugh gently at this. Even the wisest philosopher cannot read minds. Why should your partner? When we drop rigid expectations, we make space for reality. We stop punishing our partners for failing to meet impossible standards. We start appreciating them for what they actually do, not what we fantasized they would do. Gratitude replaces resentment. Clarity replaces silent judgment. This does not mean we should never have preferences or needs. It means we should express them honestly and release the illusion of control. If they are met, we are grateful. If not, we recognize this is outside my control. My peace remains mine. The truth is sharp but freeing. Expectations poison love. Gratitude nourishes it. And the Stoic path is always toward gratitude, clarity, and freedom. Attachment can become a trap. It is natural to feel attachment to someone you love. We are human, not stone. But the Stoics remind us that when attachment crosses the line into dependency, it ceases to be love and becomes a kind of prison. Instead of teaching us to cling, the Stoics urged us to practice inner independence. Epictetus reminded his students that happiness must rest on what is within our control, our own thoughts and choices, not on the uncertain presence of another. Seneca echoed this when he warned that excessive attachment to anyone makes us their slave, because our peace rises and falls with their moods and actions. To love wisely, then, is to remain whole in ourselves. We can walk beside someone, cherish them deeply, and yet not surrender our inner stability to their every movement. Modern culture often glorifies total fusion, soulmates who cannot breathe without each other, couples who describe themselves as two halves of one whole. It sounds poetic, but it is fragile. Because what happens when the other half changes, leaves, or is taken away? You are left shattered, incomplete. The Stoic alternative is radical. Love fully, but remain whole. Recognize that you came into the world complete. No person can make you whole. They can enrich your life, walk beside you, share in joys and struggles, but your essence, your reason, your character, your peace is yours alone. Attachment becomes a trap when you can no longer imagine life without someone. At that point, you are no longer loving them freely. You are clinging in fear. And fear is the enemy of love. Fear makes us jealous, controlling, desperate. Fear turns love into possession. Consider how often we hear phrases like, "I can't live without you." They sound romantic, but to the Stoic ear, they are disturbing, because no one should surrender their will, their freedom, or their peace so completely. Love thrives best not when two people are tangled in chains, but when two whole beings walk side by side, choosing each other freely. So the Stoic truth is this: attachment is natural, but dependency is dangerous. Love them deeply, but hold your soul lightly. Because the moment love becomes a cage, it is no longer love. It is fear dressed in beautiful words. Communication is more than words. We live in an age where communication is constant. Texts, voice notes, DMs, status updates, long late-night conversations. And yet, miscommunication is more common than ever. Why? Because true communication is not in the words, but in the character behind them. The Stoics warned against eloquence without virtue. Seneca wrote, "A good character, when observed, shines brighter than fine words." Marcus Aurelius, too, reminded himself not to be deceived by speeches, but to look at what people actually do. This is the lesson for modern relationships. Words may soothe or flatter, But if they are not backed by consistent action, they are empty air. How many people have heard "I love you" from someone who then lies, cheats, or disrespects them? Words without integrity are a mask, attractive but hollow. Communication in the Stoic view is the alignment of speech and action. When a person says they value honesty and then tells the truth even when it costs them, that is communication. When they say they care and show up in times of hardship, that is communication. In our age, where much of dating plays out on screens, this truth is vital. We analyze text messages like sacred scripts, searching for hidden meanings, agonizing over emojis. But the Stoic would laugh gently and say, "Look not at what they wrote, but how they live. Do their patterns of behavior align with their claims? Do they show virtue in action? If not, words are irrelevant." Epictetus gave the ultimate reminder: don't explain your philosophy, embody it. In relationships, this becomes, don't just talk love, live it. So the Stoic test of communication is not cleverness, not constant contact, not even fluency in expressing feelings. It is consistency between word and deed. And when this alignment is present, even silence communicates more than 1,000 messages. Conflict reveals, it does not create. Most people fear conflict. We imagine it will break relationships apart, and so we tiptoe, suppress, avoid. But the Stoics would say, conflict does not create flaws. It reveals what is already there. Adversity, Marcus Aurelius wrote, does not harm the soul. It shows what the soul is made of. In relationships, the same principle applies. A minor disagreement about chores, money, or plans can reveal patience, respect, or, on the other hand, selfishness, cruelty, or disdain. To the Stoic, this is not tragedy. It is clarity. For what is hidden in peace often becomes visible in conflict. If someone responds to stress with honesty, humility, and kindness, you have found a rare gem. If they respond with contempt, manipulation, or rage, the mask has slipped. Modern culture often idealizes harmony. Couples who never fight, who keep everything smooth. But the Stoics would argue that constant surface harmony is often illusion. True harmony is tested and proven in the fire of disagreement. Think of metal. You do not know its strength until it is struck. Likewise, you do not know the quality of a bond until it has weathered storms. This does not mean seeking out fights or glorifying arguments. It means not fearing them. Conflict handled with wisdom can even deepen love because it reveals honesty and resilience. But conflict that reveals cruelty is a gift too, because it shows you the truth. And once seen, truth cannot be unseen. So the Stoic approach is simple. Do not run from conflict. Watch carefully what it reveals, and then respond with clarity, choosing whether to stay or to walk away based on virtue, not fear. Love must be a choice, not a chain. The hardest truth is this: real love must be chosen freely, not imposed by fear, guilt, or obligation. Many people stay in relationships because they feel they must, because of family, finances, appearances, or simply fear of loneliness. But this is not love. It is captivity. The Stoics, above all, prized freedom. Epictetus insisted, that no external power can chain the soul unless we allow it. In love, this means that remaining with someone out of guilt or fear is a violation of our own freedom. True love is strongest not when it is bound by chains, but when it is chosen again and again. A Stoic partner stays because they will it, because the relationship aligns with virtue, because it fosters growth and peace. Anything else is compromise born of fear. Modern society often glamorizes staying no matter what. But the Stoics would ask, is this relationship making you more virtuous, more patient, more courageous? Or is it making you weaker, smaller, chained? The answer reveals everything. So the truth is firm. Love must be a choice renewed daily. If you choose to remain, let it be from freedom, not compulsion. For a love chosen freely is a love that endures. Closing reflections. These 7 truths are not easy. They cut against the grain of everything modern culture tells us about love. We are told to cling, to expect endlessly, to worship beauty, to equate passion with possession. The Stoics offer a colder but wiser flame, one that illuminates illusions and replaces them with clarity. To see love clearly is not to diminish it, but to make it stronger. When we recognize that our partner is not a possession but a fellow soul, we honor their freedom. When we accept that attraction fades but character endures, we invest in what is timeless. When we let go of expectations, we breathe easier and gratitude flows. When we avoid the trap of dependency, we love more freely. When we judge not words but actions, we see reality. When we allow conflict to reveal truth, we grow wiser. And when we remember that love must be chosen, not imposed, we protect its essence. Modern relationships are often filled with noise, endless debates online, advice columns, dating hacks, rules of texting. The Stoics cut through all of this with something simpler. Focus on virtue, focus on reality, focus on what is in your control. Everything else is smoke. This does not mean relationships should be devoid of passion, romance, or joy. On the contrary, when freed from illusions, love becomes more vibrant, not less. Gratitude deepens passion. Respect strengthens intimacy. Freedom nurtures trust. What remains is not fantasy, but something far richer. A steady companionship between two souls, both whole, both free, both walking toward virtue. Seneca once wrote, "If you live in harmony with nature, you will never be poor. If you live according to opinion, you will never be rich." In love, too, this applies. If you love according to fantasy and opinion, you will always feel restless. But if you love in harmony with reality, with gratitude, with virtue, you will feel rich beyond measure. In the end, relationships are not about completing one another. They are about journeying together as equals. Two people imperfect but striving, learning from one another, supporting one another, reminding one another of what is true. That is a love worthy of the name.